15 million bottles go into the trash every single year. Your $200 medication is next on the list. Stop. Airlines often thrive on your lack of knowledge, and you might find yourself facing $75 fees for luggage that should be free. Some believe the airport is a minefield designed to drain your wallet and your patience. But it does not have to be that way. Systemic hurdles are real, but they are not impassable. Here are 12 rules to help you navigate the terminal with your money and your health intact. Rule 1 of 12. Hazel, a 45-year-old nurse from Boston, stood frozen at Istanbul airport, known as IST. The security agent pulled a 6-ounce bottle of specialized skin medication from her carry-on bag. This was a $200 prescription, vital for her chronic condition. Hazel knew the standard 3.4-ounce limit for liquids. She felt a wave of panic as the agent reached for the large gray trash bin. Most travelers think the rules are absolute. They are not. The system can feel rigged, but here is the fix. Medical necessities are generally exempt from the liquid rule in most major international hubs. You do not need a secret code or a magic phrase. You just need a clear, calm explanation. Hazel informed the agent that the liquid was for a documented medical condition. International airports like IST often follow protocols similar to the US TSA standards. They may perform a separate chemical test on the liquid, but they rarely discard it once it is verified. Hazel saved her medication because she knew the exception. If you stay silent, you lose the value of your prescription. Reality check. Always try to keep the original pharmacy label on the bottle. While many agents are helpful, having documentation reduces friction. Hazel made her flight with her medicine. But that small victory is useless if your next fight involves protecting your supplies from the equipment itself. You are about to face Rule 2, dealing with high-intensity scanners. Rule 2 of 12. Nathan, a 51-year-old architect from Denver, stood in the sweltering security line at Denver International, or DEN. He clutched a small insulated cooler containing biologics worth thousands of dollars. As the line shuffled toward the massive X-ray tunnels, Nathan felt a surge of anxiety. He had read that the high-intensity radiation from some airport scanners might potentially compromise the fragile chemical bonds of certain biologics. The airline staff will rarely volunteer this information, but you often have the right to request a manual search. Nathan stood his ground as he reached the conveyor belt. He looked the officer in the eye and said, "I'm requesting a manual inspection for these medical supplies. They might prefer the speed of the machine, but your health comes first." Nathan watched as a supervisor was called to perform a hand check of the vials. It took an extra 5 minutes of waiting near gate B19, but his medication stayed safe from the X-ray. Reality check. Expect some pushback from overworked agents during peak hours. Be prepared to wait and stay firm in your request. Nathan saved his biologics, but his journey was just beginning. Protecting your health is one thing, but Rule 3 is about protecting your wallet from the third bag trap at the gate. Rule 3 of 12. Marcus, a 39-year-old accountant from Seattle, stood at the check-in counter at Seattle-Tacoma International, also known as SEA. The agent pointed at the small black case tucked under his arm. "That bag is an extra carry-on," she said. "That will be a $75 fee." Marcus felt his face turn red. That case contained his CPAP machine, a device he needed every single night just to breathe properly. He felt like he was being penalized for a physical necessity. He almost reached for his credit card, ready to pay the price of his ignorance. Stop.
Many airlines allow medical equipment to be carried free of charge, even if you have already reached your standard bag limit. They may not mention this up front, but the policy is usually on your side. Marcus took a breath and explained that the device was a medical necessity. He showed the agent the machine inside. Usually, if a device is medically required, it does not count against your carry-on allowance. Marcus saved his $75 and kept his equipment with him. Reality check. Keep the policy pulled up on your phone. Most agents will follow the rules once they are presented with the specific airline guidelines. Marcus avoided a costly mistake that day. But saving money on bags is only half the battle. Everything changes when you face the gatekeeper during boarding. Rule 4 of 12. Chloe, a 29-year-old photographer from Miami, felt a sharp ache in her lower back while looking at her boarding pass for a flight out of Miami International, or MIA. She was assigned to row 42, a cramped middle seat at the very back of the plane. For someone dealing with chronic sciatica, 5 hours in that position meant days of physical recovery. She did not have $500 for a last-minute business class upgrade. Some might say the airline industry turns physical discomfort into profit. But you have options. Under the Air Carrier Access Act, or ACAA, airlines are often required to provide seating accommodations for passengers with documented mobility or health issues. Chloe approached the gate agent and explained her situation clearly. She did not demand a free luxury suite. She simply informed them of her physical limitation. The agent checked the seat map and moved Chloe to row 4, a bulkhead seat with significantly more legroom. There was no extra charge. Reality check. This is not a shortcut to first class. You will not get the premium meals or the free champagne, but you will get a seat that does not leave you in physical pain. Chloe made it home without a flare-up. However, getting a better seat is only part of the strategy. You need to know Rule 5, the truth about pre-boarding. Rule 5 of 12. Samuel, a 63-year-old librarian from Phoenix, stood at gate A7 in Phoenix Sky Harbor, or PHX. His lower back was throbbing after a long day of travel. He looked at his pass. He was in Group 5. He knew that by the time his group was called, the overhead bins would be stuffed to capacity. He would likely be forced to gate check his bag, adding more stress to his arrival. Many people believe boarding groups are final and unchangeable. They are not. Under federal guidelines, airlines must allow passengers who need extra time or assistance to board before the general groups. You do not always need a medical certificate for this. If you have a condition that makes the boarding scrum difficult, like Samuel's back strain, you can ask for pre-boarding. Samuel approached the desk and politely told the agent he needed a few extra minutes to get settled due to a mobility issue. They scanned his pass right after the premium passengers. He found a spot for his bag and sat down before the crowds arrived. Reality check. Use this rule only when you truly have a need. It is a tool for accessibility, not a game for everyone. Samuel saved his back and his time, but boarding early does not help if you are separated from your travel partner. That is where Rule 6 comes in. Rule 6 of 12. Julian, a 32-year-old chef from Orlando, learned a difficult lesson at Orlando International
known as MCO. He was sitting in the back of the plane near the engines, while his wife was seated 15 rows ahead in a window seat. They were traveling for their anniversary, but because they had booked their tickets on 2 different websites, the system had split them up. The airline may not go out of its way to fix this, as they often charge for seat selections. This is where the system can feel like it is working against the unit. Stop. There is a simple fix you can handle before you even get to the airport. You can call the carrier and ask them to link your passenger name records, or PNRs. Even if you booked separately, an agent can often add a note called a TCP, which stands for Total Complete Party. This alerts the system that you are traveling together. Reality check. This is not a legal requirement, so the airline is not forced to move you for free. It is a courtesy that many agents are happy to provide if you ask nicely before the flight is fully checked in. Julian spent his flight alone, but he will not make that mistake again. Distance can be expensive, but losing your cool at the desk is even worse. When things go wrong, you need Rule 7, the nuclear option. Rule 7 of 12. Victor, a 47-year-old lawyer from Dallas, stood at the service desk at Dallas-Fort Worth International, code DFW. His flight had been delayed for 4 hours due to a mechanical issue, and the agent was being dismissive. Victor was frustrated, but he knew that shouting would only lead to being removed from the terminal. The airline industry can be a wall of bureaucracy, and sometimes you need to talk to the person behind the curtain. Stop arguing with the person who has no power to help you. Instead, ask specifically for the Complaint Resolution Official, or CRO. This is a specific role trained to handle disputes and ensure that federal regulations are being followed on the spot. The moment Victor mentioned those 3 letters, the tone of the conversation changed. The agent realized Victor understood the internal hierarchy. A supervisor was called, and a rebooking solution that was previously unavailable suddenly appeared. Reality check. A CRO cannot fix the weather or clear a grounded plane. They are there to resolve regulatory issues. Victor saved his trip by knowing who to ask for. But even a CRO cannot help you if you are using the wrong legal framework. That leads to Rule 8. Rule 8 of 12. Maya, a 55-year-old journalist from Newark, arrived at Newark Liberty International, or EWR, only to find herself in a heated debate. She assumed the Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA, covered her rights while she was on the aircraft. She was wrong. The airline might not clarify this for you, but the ADA does not actually apply to the inside of an airplane. Instead, you are covered by the Air Carrier Access Act, or ACAA. This is a crucial distinction. When Maya's requests for assistance were ignored, she felt like her rights had vanished. Stop. This is where your knowledge becomes power. By citing the ACAA instead of the ADA, you are using the correct legal tool for the environment. Maya requested a CRO and specifically mentioned the ACAA guidelines regarding passenger assistance. The staff immediately became more attentive to her needs. Reality check. Knowing the acronym is not a magic wand, but it shows you are an informed passenger who cannot be easily dismissed. Maya got the help she needed. But legal knowledge does not fix every problem. Sometimes you need a digital trail, which brings us to Rule 9. Rule 9 of 12. Zara, a 22-year-old student from Minneapolis, found herself in a difficult spot at Minneapolis-St. Paul International, known as MSP. She noticed a mistake in her booking at 10 p.m. the night before her flight. Instead of calling, she figured she would just handle it at the airport. When she arrived, the flight was overbooked and the agent could not help her. She felt completely powerless.
The airline might bank on you waiting until the last minute to complain. Here's the fix. Document every issue the moment it happens. Take a screenshot of the error message. Send a direct message to the airline on social media immediately. This creates a time-stamped digital record that is very hard for a corporation to ignore later. Zara realized that by waiting, she had lost her leverage. Next time, she will have a digital paper trail ready to show the desk agent. Reality check. A screenshot is not a guarantee of a free flight, but it turns your word into a verifiable fact. Zara eventually made it to her destination, but she learned that silence is expensive. Now, let us talk about your comfort in the terminal with Rule 10. Rule 10 of 12. Ethan, a 37-year-old financial advisor from Las Vegas, was exhausted. He was sitting on the floor at Harry Reid International, or LAS, surrounded by the constant ringing of slot machines and the roar of thousands of travelers. He looked at the $50 price tag for a lounge pass and just could not justify it.
You do not always need a premium credit card to find a moment of peace. Many people walk right past the quietest spots in the airport. Look for meditation rooms, chapels, or even yoga studios. At LAS, Ethan found a quiet corner near the far end of the connector bridge that was nearly empty. These zones are often located away from the main gates and the food courts. Ask at the information desk for a sanctuary room or a quiet zone. You can find a place to recharge your phone and your mind for free. Reality check. These are public spaces, so they can occasionally be occupied, but they are almost always better than a crowded gate. Ethan worked in silence for 2 hours before his flight. But finding a chair is easy compared to the high stakes of Rule 11. Protecting your mobility equipment. Rule 11 of 12.
Clara, a 41-year-old designer from Salt Lake City, arrived at Salt Lake City International, known as SLC, with her custom titanium manual wheelchair. It was a 25-pound piece of equipment that cost more than some cars. The gate agent wanted to put a tag on it for the cargo hold. Clara knew that thousands of mobility devices are damaged every year because they are handled like standard luggage. Stop. You often have a better option. Most large commercial aircraft have a priority closet in the cabin designed to hold at least one manual wheelchair. You can request to store your chair in the cabin rather than checking it into the hold. Clara made the request immediately upon arriving at the gate. If the closet is already full, you should remove any fragile parts like the cushion or the side guards and take them on the plane with you. Clara taped specific handling instructions in English and Spanish to the frame to ensure the ground crew knew exactly how to fold it. Reality check. Priority closets are first come, first served, so get to the gate early.
Clara's chair arrived in perfect condition, but protecting your equipment is only the start. Rule 12 covers a secret for the seniors in your life. Rule 12 of 12. Leo, a 58-year-old engineer from San Diego, was waiting at the security checkpoint at San Diego International, or SAN. He watched as an elderly man in front of him struggled to balance on one foot while trying to pull off a heavy leather boot. The line was growing long, and people were starting to sigh with impatience. The man looked embarrassed and stressed. Many travelers do not realize that there is a specific rule for those aged 75 and older. If you or a travel companion are 75 or older, you can generally keep your shoes and a light jacket on during the screening process. It is a form of expedited screening that is free and available to everyone in that age bracket.
Leo stepped forward and quietly mentioned the rule to the TSA officer. The officer nodded, and the elderly man was able to walk through the scanner without the struggle of removing his boots. Reality check. If the alarm goes off, the shoes may still need to be inspected, but the rule usually saves time and dignity for seniors. Leo helped a fellow traveler avoid a humiliating moment. If you do not know these rules, the system may take your time and your money. The airlines may not want you to know your rights, but now you do. Do not be the passenger they take advantage of. Join our community by subscribing now to keep the power in your hands.